If I could move to the UK again, these are the 5 things that I'll do differently. 2 of these actually wiped out my savings and cost me a lot of money, so you really want to watch out for that. Regret number 1 is that I regret not building a business back home before I came here, or not having anything solid that is generating money for me before I came here. Because what I then realized is once I came here, it's really hard to get into business. Like back home, you could just buy a goat and you start becoming a goat farmer. Here, we're talking licenses, there's contracts, and everything is just a lot more complicated if you want to start a business. And for someone who's just moved and you're like 25 years old or you're 40 years old, trying to move into that landscape and starting to learn how to start a business can take time, or for some people you may never take off at all, right? And for the people that at least you don't start a business, at least spot the opportunities back home, okay? Because the situation that we have back home is that a lot of people have got opportunities but they don't have the finances. So what you want to do to position yourself carefully is to spot the opportunities while you're home. Just think, what will I do, right? And then coming here, you get the money and you put those two together, and then you have something to fall back on, and then you don't get stuck in the UK trap of having to work a 9 to 5 until retirement age, which keeps increasing every week. So that's definitely one of my biggest regrets, is because I realized once I came here, I lost touch with reality back home, right? I found myself asking what's making money back home, which is something that I could have done for myself and planned for myself in my head whilst I was still back home. And then now I'm here, and most of the people here find themselves having their money just set in their savings because they don't know what to do with the money. And once you've left the landscape, you are then unable to spot the opportunities that would be good for you and that you'd naturally excel at. Regret number 2 is very controversial, but I think that moving to the UK without a partner is definitely one of my biggest regrets. I remember when I was home and I was trying to convince this girl to come with the UK with me, and she was saying, I think I'm going to stay here and get married first and then I'll come over. And I remember thinking that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I just remember thinking that is so stupid. But now looking back, I get where she was coming from, because what happens when you come here is that your entire support system is wiped out in a flight. Okay, the flight that takes about 6 hours to 9 hours. You come from having people supporting you, friends, family, random events where you can meet people and people that just check up on you, to becoming entirely invisible when you come here. Okay, your identity sort of erodes and you become a person who goes to work. You're just working, and of which no one really cares about your work. It's about what you can deliver at work. And then most of immigrants then just come home. So you find that if you've moved here with a partner, you've moved here with your kids, you have the base support. You're not starting from zero. You're not starting from scratch. And sometimes I will go out at night and I just think to myself, if something happens to me in this alley and I disappear, it will take a long time for people to realize that I'm gone. Maybe my people from work will realize that, something's wrong when I don't turn up to work, but ultimately no one would care if something happened to me. And I'm always really scared of like something happening in the middle of the night or stuff like that, because I'm entirely and purely alone in a foreign country. Regret number 3 is that I was scammed £3,000 and I lost all that money in one transaction in one day. Now, you could argue that getting scammed is not anyone's fault, but I do feel that there were some red flags that I should have been able to identify. How I was scammed is that my emails were intercepted. I was looking for a house and I started off communicating with the real estate agency, and then my emails were intercepted, and then I ended up being given payment details of a scammer. The red flags that were there were the email address changing should have been the first red flag, and what the email address looked like in the end, and the way that they were asking for money, because there is a way that estate agencies ask for money. But because I was just new in the country, I didn't realize that there was something odd with the way that they were asking for the money. I hadn't signed a tenancy agreement yet, and that was the first red flag. But because I just gotten into the country, I didn't know how people in the UK did their things. That would have been the first red flag. Is like, well, I haven't signed a contract, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. I would have known the process of how people start living in an accommodation and how the relationship between the customer and the estate agency works, right? So that's one. I didn't know about this, the whole entire thing, and I didn't do my research to ask the people around if the process was sort of normal. I think it was because the type of thieving that I was used to was very much like people approaching you at knife point and asking you and shaking you down for your money, right? I wasn't used to this sort of complicated type of thieving where these are very educated thieves for them to be able to intercept my emails. But I didn't learn about UK scams. I didn't learn, and after that, only then after I got scammed is when I started learning about people calling you and saying they're HMRC, random links being sent to your email, random links being sent to your text messages, and I learned about the scams after I'd already lost the £3,000. And also I wasn't using a high street bank, so I wasn't able to retrieve the money. So if you're using a high street bank, they're able to retrieve your money if you lose your money to a scam, but the ones that are not bagged, they couldn't help me with anything. And I think from that £3,000 I ended up being able to retrieve £10, which was next to nothing. And not only that, but the scammers were not caught because of the type of bank account that they had used as well. And that wasn't even the worst part. I was yet to lose more money from lack of knowledge, and that's going to be regret number 5. So stay tuned for that. Regret number 4 is that I did not ask enough questions to the people that were already here. I asked questions when I was trying to get myself registered and just doing the process itself. I never asked them about the realities of living here so that I could prepare myself adequately. I never asked about the cost of living. I asked questions as someone who already wanted to move there, but I did not ask questions in a way for me to research how to prepare myself to move there. Okay, so the types of videos that I watched were videos about what to pack, how to get registered, what to do as soon as you get there. There was never research on the part of like what it's going to be like for me as an immigrant, what a normal working day looks like, what do the shifts look like, and what it's like moving by myself in an entirely different country. So there was the questions that I asked questions sort of to as someone who was already convinced that this is what I want, which is fair enough, because a lot of people from back home, we just want to move. We just want to move. We do not care, and we just want to move, and we're just so excited. But I think that in our excitement, you need to stop and ask the questions and try to picture how your life is actually going to look so that you can adequately prepare. Because what ended up happening to me is because I wasn't adequately prepared, the shock, it took me off my axis, the ground that I was standing on, the depression. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of family. I lost myself in the process because I wasn't prepared for what was ahead. Number 5 is near and dear to my heart because I lost my entire savings. Okay, if you think losing £3,000 is a lot, I lost my savings. Okay, I lost a lot more, way above 10k. And how I did that is that I started a business before I understood where I was, before I learned how they did things in the UK. Okay, so I just went into business out of the determination that I had. I thought was enough, but I didn't know enough about the place. I hadn't lived here long enough to know what the customers are like, what dealing with other business people is like, what you need in place. Where Zimbabwe operates very much on a trust basis. In Zimbabwe, there's not that many contracts. It's you talking to someone and you agree on someone and you do it. And I come to this place where people are not as trustworthy. If there's not a contract, people don't feel the need to be as trustworthy. And I feel like because Zimbabwe is a Christian country, it helps us a lot, right? Whereas here, people will do you dirty, and the way that they do business is a whole lot different, right? So if you want to start a business here, I would advise for you to get a mentor. You need to be well connected. I did not have a network, and when things started happening to me and people started doing me dirty, I had no one to talk to, no one to ask. I didn't know what to do, and I was having so many sleepless nights. First of all, have a network. Have some networking events that you're attending. 2, have people to ask, have people that you can get on the phone with. If you have to pay for a mentor, then so be it. Pay for that mentorship and have someone to fall back on. 3, learn the business ahead of time. Don't invest before you understand the area. Even if you did the business back home, when you come here, you need to take yourself as someone who's never done that business before and start from the basics of learning how to do that business here. In my next video, I'm going to talk about what hurt me. Please look out for that video. Please do subscribe if you're someone who wants to move to the UK, or if you're someone who's in the UK already and you just need to relate. This video can also be good for all diaspora people because these countries are more or less the same. So if you're in Canada, if you're in Australia, this is the channel for you.